Bone Storm Necromancer, the fastest necro build I've ever seen. The main drawback of the necromancer in Diablo 4 is that they are significantly slower than any other class. However, after playing with this build, I realized that the necromancer can potentially match the speed of other classes. This build has a very simple gameplay. We just shred all enemies with our bone storms that spin around us and continuously spawn with lucky hits. Essentially, we only use 3 main skills: Bone Storm for damage, Sever for teleportation, Blood Mist for invulnerability, and because it deals damage to nearby enemies, causing bone storms to spawn more frequently. This combination is enough for most content. For higher tier pits, we can also use Blight to create a pool under enemies, increasing our damage by 20%, and, if necessary, use Corpse Tendrils to pull enemies in. However, Corpse Tendrils and Corpse Explosion are automatically cast in our build because of the Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul. Of course, this is a fun build and falls short in damage compared to the popular Bloodwave build, making it less suitable for pushing high-tier pits. Nonetheless, I have a video on my channel where I clear a 110 tier pit without any problems. Also, I don't have any maximum aspects and my masterwork's far from ideal, so the build can significantly increase its damage. Moreover, since this build is not very popular, items for it are much cheaper compared to top builds, making it easier to assemble if you use trading with other players. The first thing you need to do to make this build work properly is to reduce the cooldowns of Blood Mist, Sever, and Bone Storm. For this, pay attention to the following items. Shield reduces the cooldown of all skills. Ring, Tempering reduces the ultimate cooldown. Boots, Tempering reduce mobility skill cooldowns. By default, Blood Mist and Sever are not mobility skills, but we make them mobility by using Aspect on the Boots and Ghastly Blood Mist talent node. You might also wonder why I focus so much on critical damage in this build. It's simple. Once you level up Bone Storm to level 5, it gains an additional property. Critical damage becomes a damage multiplier without any limits. Currently, this allows my Bone Storm damage to be increased 13 times, which is a lot. Let's move on to the gear. Head, Heir of Perdition. It provides a 60% damage multiplier. Most important stats: critical chance and lucky hit. The required critical chance is gained quite easily in this build, so I recommend prioritizing a Grand Affix and Masterwork procs for lucky hits. Chest, Shroud of False Death. +1 to all passive skills boosting damage and survivability. The most important stat, all stats. Legendary Gloves with stats intelligence, critical damage, maximum life. Temperings, critical damage, curse size. Most important stat, critical damage. Aspect of Serration for damage. Pants, Blood Moon Breeches. These pants have many unnecessary stats, with the only important stat being critical chance. The main reason for using these pants is the property at the bottom that increases critical damage by 50%. Legendary Boots with stats intelligence, maximum life, armor. Temperings, Corpse Tendrils size and mobility cooldown reduction. Aim to get as many Masterwork procs as possible in mobility cooldown reduction. Aspect, Inexorable Reaper's Aspect, allowing us to use Sever as a teleport. Legendary One-Handed Sword with stats intelligence, critical damage, maximum life. Temperings, critical damage and double damage for Bone Storm. Most important stat, double damage. Aspect of Ultimate Shadow, transforms Bone Storm into a dark skill and changes its damage type from physical to shadow. The aspect itself deals very little damage. The main benefit is that it makes Bone Storm a dark skill without removing its bone skill properties, allowing you to use the best aspects, talents, and legendary nodes for both dark and bone skills. Shield, Lidless Wall, most important piece of gear with all stats being highly useful. The main thing is that it allows us to create additional Bone Storms on lucky hits. Most important stat, cooldown reduction for all skills. First Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul automatically triggers Corpse Explosion and Corpse Tendrils for us, which is very convenient as it continuously maintains the buffs from Corpse Explosion and constantly pulls enemies towards us. Most important stat, lucky hits. Second Ring, legendary with stats intelligence, critical damage, vulnerable on lucky hits. Temperings, critical damage and ultimate cooldown reduction. It's important to get Masterwork procs for ultimate cooldown reduction. Aspect, Sacrificial Aspect for damage. Legendary amulet with stats intelligence, gloom, and compound fracture. You can also take stats, avulsion or coalesced blood, temperings, critical damage and mobility cooldown reduction. Most important stat, gloom, aspect of the damned for damage. Witchcraft, we use soul harvest, aura of siphoning, aura specialization, purging touch, and twilight warding. As a unique skill, we use the cycle. Book of the Dead, sacrifice reaper, sacrifice cold, and sacrifice iron. It's all about maximizing damage. Mercenaries, pseudo, for map hack and increase critical damage. Aldkin, with field of languish to slow enemies and reduce their damage. We use runes in armor, Bakwat, for casting curse. Igniome, for damage boost. Gems, in weapon we use green for critical damage. In armor we use orange for intelligence. Note that the shield is considered armor, so we also use an orange gem in the shield. In the jewel, we use Wicked Pact, Friend of the Bog, and Voice of the Stars. I won't show all talents in detail here, but you can find the full talent tree in the build attached in the video description. I'll just highlight the most important ones. Although we don't use essence much in this build, we take node, offside essence, which makes our essence a damage multiplier. Therefore, we also take node, unliving energy, which is not a mistake. Additionally, we take all nodes that increase the damage of both bone and dark skills. Using the aspect on the weapon, we make our bone storm a dark skill, which doesn't change the fact that it remains a bone skill as well. Paragon. Of course, I won't show every single node here, but the full paragon tree can be found in the build in the video description. I'll only mention the most important ones. Glyphs, Abyssal, Essence, Amplify, Sacrificial, Eliminator, Dex, Flesh Eater, Frailty, Bone Graft, Blood begets blood. That's it, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and have a great day.